I think the main focus of today's video is all about mental health, how people's lives aren't all glitz and glamour, how people do struggle, and if today this video helps at least one person just to understand that they're not alone,
yes,
and helps them to reach out to either a family member or a professional like yourself,
yes,
then I think my job's done. But also I think it's a really, really good topic to discuss.
yes,
Because people don't talk about it, and especially men,
yeah,
they don't talk about it. So
that's right. Do you think it's more so men that don't talk about things, Lee?
I probably think so. I think there's more stigma around
Yes.
men and mental health and alcohol.
Yes.
And I think maybe in some professions men find it harder to talk about, or if they do talk about it, they are looked at in a different light.
Yeah.
Maybe the men are looked at as not being the alpha male, the strong, powerful, the breadwinner,
Yeah.
and I think sometimes with men, things then escalate, and we've had, in the media, there's been a lot of suicides of young men. There's been a lot of publicity around mental health. I would have imagined over the last sort of 10 to 12 months, it's been quite prominent.
Yes, it
in
has.
the media.
Do you feel that that's something society has created, Lee? A man should be a certain way.
I think from the early onsets, I think if you realise that back in the 1950s, when men used to go out to work
Yes.
and women stayed at home,
Yes.
that was that.
Yes.
But things have changed now. There's obviously you've got the heterosexual couples, you've got the same-sex couples, you've got parents now as well, which are both male or both female,
Yes.
bringing up children, either that being by adoption, surrogacy, or being a foster parent.
Yes.
And I've got knowledge of that because, being a foster parent for 5 years, I know what the struggle was like with mental health, trying to become a foster parent.
Yes. Okay.
And really, if that's another message that we can put across out there as well, in regards to it's okay for you not to be okay at certain parts of your life.
Absolutely.
And I think it's how you deal with it now, and how you take a bad situation or a good situation and reflect and change that.
Yes.
And adapt it for you, not for anybody else.
Yes.
Because it has to be, you've got to adapt it for you.
Yes.
Because if you're adapting it for anybody else, then you still need to go through that. You still need to go through your own journey.
That's right, yeah. And do you believe that, things can look rosy on the outside, Lee? People can look in on social media and feel like other people's lives are all perfect and rosy. Do you believe that is the case for anyone, or do you believe everybody has their own struggles internally?
I think everybody has their own struggles internally. I think it's now heightened by social media with the likes of Instagram and YouTube. I know that myself and Ross decided to do a YouTube channel early on this year.
Yes.
And then what goes hand in hand with that then is your Instagram account, your Facebook account. And you know what? With Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, we wanted to do it where it was, this is what we are like, this is our life, these are our struggles, these are the good bits, these are the low points. But when you look at somebody's Instagram account, you see them on holiday all the time, or you see them eating out all the time.
Absolutely.
And I know that because we do it as well.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, like the other morning I put a post out on social media, and it was about getting up on a morning. I actually planned that the night before.
Okay.
And I was actually still in bed when that post went out.
Right, yes, yes.
So, it's not all about...
Yes.
And this is the way that social media has it, and it's...
Trace people's life as being pretty hunky-dory, rosy, perfect.
Yeah, and it's not.
And you want to tell the truth out there that,
And it's, and you know me, I'm a planner. I like to plan things. I like to know when things are going on and stuff like that. But I also like the spontaneity of certain things. But I think just taking that post as an example, that's the way that this social media rat race has you in.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, we love it.
Yes.
Because we're a part of that now.
Yes.
But I just want to show people that it's not all about that. It's actually really difficult, because if you're actually seeing what goes behind all the planning and things like that, you know, sometimes we get messages of people say, oh my god, you're out all the time. I'm not.
Yes.
I'm in the house.
Yes.
I'm clucking around, hoovering up. It's
Yes.
because you plan.
Yes, that's right.
You portray that your life is out and about and do all of this.
Yes.
But sometimes we might take a food snap, or we might go somewhere, and I might not put it on social media because I'll use that maybe in 2 or 3 weeks time.
Yes, yes.
So you collate a lot of information.
Yes, so it's all planned out.
It is all planned out, and
Yes.
that's the way that the social media bubble gets you.
So today you want to be completely authentic, and you want to talk about the bad things and the good things,
And I'll
show
be as
people.
honest as I can be.
Okay, okay. So
Well, I say as honest as I can be. I'll be as honest straight out there.
yeah, okay, perfect.
Life for me was at a very early age. I can't remember actually a lot of it. I remember being maybe 4 or 5 and going to Disneyland as a kid, and I think because that was such an iconic place to go to, I think that memory's always served me well. If that's,
Yes,
do you know what I mean?
yes, one of the lovely memories.
Yeah,
that
one of the
you
lovely
have.
memories.
Yes.
But also, you know, being just me mum and me 2 sisters.
Okay.
My mum being out to work all the time because she was a single parent, and potentially, you know, that wasn't. It was an amazing life because we were always together.
Yes.
But there were certain things as a child that you would potentially go without because mum couldn't afford it, or you didn't go to places because mum couldn't afford to do that. And I'm not saying that that was my life completely, but there's times where, you know, I remember, you know, spending time with my grandma or spending time with my auntie because mum had to go to work.
Yes.
I think it only gets to a certain point where you're like, you know, I'm 40 next year, and I realise that that's what life was like.
So do you think, as a child's perception, Lee, you could feel a little bit isolated, lonely, back at that stage when you were a child, but now that you're 40, you're reflecting and realising... 39, sorry. 39. So are you realising only now when you look back how sometimes you could have felt lonely and isolated, but you now realise why parents have to go to work?
Yeah, and I tell you which was another struggle for me to think about things was when my mum met my dad and we moved away because my dad was in the army.
Yeah.
My 2 sisters then went to boarding school in the UK, so then I was left with my parents.
Right.
And I don't think I've ever got to the reason why I wasn't sent away.
Okay.
And I don't mean sent away in a negative way.
Yes.
Why weren't all 3 of us sent to boarding school? And I don't know whether it was because I was too young.
Right.
I don't know. That maybe is a question that I need to...
How old were you at that stage, Lee?
I think I must have been around about 7 or 8.
Oh, okay.
7 or 8. But I missed them. I think for me, the key moments of remembering things,
Yes.
I just remember them not being there.
How can you remember, what was your perception on your sort of teenage years?
Teenage years for me were a bit lonely, but I remember my mum coming home one day and she'd seen in, I think it was the local paper or something like that, that they were advertising for a theatre school. And I've always been dramatic, I've always been theatrical. And she said, do you fancy doing this? And I went for many, many, many years. And that's where I found my niche.
So knowing what we know now, at 39, looking back on your life, you know, you can see that back then you had passion, but you wouldn't have realised that back then.
No.
Have you realised that now, that doing that passion, doing what you love, feeds your soul?
Yes, absolutely it does. And I think that was one of the reasons why I set up a theatre school, because I didn't have the time to do what I loved to do, and I took a bit of a gap really. I did a lot as a kid. I did the TV work, I did the theatre work, you know, the times where I did adverts and going for auditions and things like that. And I think coping with the rejection, because there is massive rejection in that business, did toughen me up a little bit, and allowed me to be very independent, and that's okay. You move on to the next thing. What it doesn't serve you well for is the isolation of being on your own. So, you know, at times you would, you know, when I was doing TV work, and I did it for many years, you know, you would get picked up in the morning, you would go to work. You know, bearing in mind I was maybe, 11, 12? So still very, very young.
Yes.
And being, you know, was I flamboyant kid? I would say probably not, but then other people would probably say I was.
Yes, you didn't see that yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And probably did I recognise that I was gay back when I was 11? Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, probably very early on. And I think, do you know what that was? And that was being, I worked on a TV, on a kids' TV show, and everybody was flamboyant. Not everybody was gay, but there was a lot of people in that industry that were gay, and just looking at how open and free and happy people were, and that sort of that community, and I thought, oh, I really fit in here. I moved away, I left home when I was 16, and I moved and I went to live with my grandma. And one of the reasons for that was to run away from the gay thing, because I knew that I was gay and I didn't want anybody to find out.
Okay.
I had a relationship when I was 16 with an open gay man, and that was difficult because there's always that scare that someone's going to find out. So to run away from that was a lot easier for me, because my granddad had died, my grandma was on her own, so for me the excuse was to go and keep her company.
Okay, yeah.
So that was
the excuse to run.
To run.
Yeah.
And then I lived with my grandma for a good few years, and then was in another relationship in Liverpool, and I reached out to a friend and obviously mentioned that I was gay and things like that, and then things started to snowball and things escalated a lot quickly, and people then started to talk, and it was kind of really, I didn't really come out myself. It was just like, well, what's going on? This is the situation. Are you gay?
Did you have any shame around that, Lee?
Not really, no. I think the biggest thing for me was my grandma knew, and my family knew there. Bearing in mind, my mum and dad were still in the northeast, and they didn't know.
Okay.
So it was then a case of having to tell them, and because the distance was so far away, I had to tell them over a telephone.
Okay. Was there a lot of fear around telling the parents?
I think what was really funny about it was the fact that my dog's going mental there. Being, I tell you what, I'm going to open that door and let the dogs in.
Okay. We'll just revisit that question. I've just asked Lee the question of, was there any guilt, shame? What were the feelings around having to tell the parents?
Yeah, so it's like a menagerie of dogs. So, like I said about telling them, you know, looking back now, I wouldn't have done it over a telephone. I had this perception that, because my dad was in the army, and, you know, as a kid, I wasn't forced into doing things, but, you know, I was, you know, I'd play rugby, I would not do manly things, but I don't know, I would just do the normal boy things that you would do with your dad.
Okay.
And I think for me, telling him was, in my mind, the hardest point. I thought, oh, with me mum, be absolutely fine, because she would have known by now, do you know what I mean? And obviously my sisters and things like that, I just think, oh, well, they would have known. And it was really funny because my mum maybe struggled a little bit.
Right.
And my dad was absolutely fine. And it was just like, hang on a minute, this is not meant to happen. This was meant to be the other way around.
Oh, okay, so I was quite surprised.
Yeah,
you were
so,
quite surprised.
Yeah, that threw me, completely threw me.
Okay. Was Dad you know, your typical alpha male and very sort of male?
Yeah, he was, but not in like an aggressive way. He was like always like really supportive and, you know, independence and things like that. And I think that comes from the army background.
Yes.
And I think, you know, with dealing with like Dad going away on exercise in the army, and at times, you know, I remember, you know, my mum getting a phone call to say that he'd rolled down in a Bedford truck and it blew up, but he was all right. You know, I think at a young age, I don't think that parents realise that the kids do know what's going on.
Yes.
And I think they try and hide as much stuff as possible to protect the kids.
Absolutely.
But I think it actually, when later on gets on, when time gets on later on, I think there's a lot of questions that need to be asked.
So you just want to know the truth back then,
Yeah.
what you're feeling.
But they're only there to protect you.
Yes, they try to protect, but sometimes you feel left in the dark as a child.
Which then, as a child, you start to then overthink yourself.
Yes.
And you start to worry and panic.
Yes.
And then this worry and panic then potentially might come into anxiety and things like that. But as a kid, you would never have known that.
That's right. It's only now that you can reflect again
Yeah.
and look back on how you were feeling and what your perception of things was.
I just remember, I remember this one time that my dad was in an accident, and I was so anxious. But the only thing that happened was, I think he had a cut on his head, and he rode down this cliff in a big truck with empty petrol cans in, and it all sounds dead dramatic, and do you know what I mean? But as a kid, it was.
Yes, absolutely.
And all I wanted to do was just see him.
Yes.
How hard, and I'm thinking about that feeling, that memory now, and it's hard.
Yeah, a lot of worrying going on when
Yeah.
you look back.
But how would you say to your mum, oh, I feel as if I've got anxiety at the age of 8?
Yeah, you wouldn't have known what anxiety was back then, but
No.
now you can see that it could be a huge trigger.
Yeah.
So your drama, drama school,
All that went
your
on the
passion,
wayside.
that all went on the wayside, whilst you decided to focus on working, getting your first job when you were 16, living with your grandma and earning the money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it was only sort of 6 years ago, really, when I really wanted to pick that dream back up and fulfil that gap that was missing.
Okay, so
'Cause
it took a long time for you to recognise that your soul wasn't being fed because you weren't feeding your passion.
Yes, and I think also as well that really didn't help was having past relationships that potentially weren't the right ones.
Okay.
You know, thinking at the time that they were the right ones and thinking that you found the one,
Yes.
but you haven't.
Yes.
You know, and I had amazing relationships that ended lovely, and then I had some relationships that weren't great, some violent relationships that just weren't great. And I think again there, you then become to isolate yourself, and I think that was a coping mechanism or a strategy that I had from being very, very earlier on, feeling isolated.
Yes.
I know how to cope with that very well. So
was that a trigger for you, would you say, back then, Lee?
I don't know. I just knew that I could deal with it really. I could deal with it really well. I don't know what the outer circle were thinking.
So that was your way of learning to deal with things when you were younger and you felt a little bit isolated. You then recognised later on that when you were dealing with anything traumatic or
Just isolate yourself.
you would isolate yourself.
Yeah.
That was your way of dealing with things. And do you think that, knowing what you know now, would you say that works to isolate yourself when there's something traumatic going on?
No, I think if you can share it, even if you can start to share it a little bit, then that's a massive step, especially for mental health.
Yes.
You know, my mental health journey started in 2006 when it was at its worst.
How old were you then, Lee?
26.
26, okay.
And that's when it was at its worst. And you know, I wanted to become, you know, I just met Ross. You know, I was in this relationship, just met Ross, and struggling with my mental health. So I wasn't aware that this relationship was going to go anywhere, and didn't know whether it was going to be a few months. You know, I was really, really struggling with myself. But you know, Ross has been brilliant throughout it all. He's stuck by me, and you know, we've come out at the other side. I think, but what was quite important as well is the fact, like, you know, I wanted to pick up the dream again with the theatre and stuff like that, and maybe I'd missed the bus for me. And open the theatre school for children that potentially couldn't afford the big hourly rates and things like that, and I think, you know, there's some amazing theatre schools out there.
Yes.
But the kids that I wanted to tap into, they wouldn't have been able to afford that, and who says that they shouldn't be able to access that service because of money?
That's right. So you felt that those children weren't having the opportunities, maybe because they didn't have the money to fulfil their dreams. So this was something that your passion was telling you to do.
But obviously I was fulfilling my dream as well, because I was getting back into that
Yes.
that industry and doing all that, and we did some, you know, we did some amazing shows with these kids, and we did some great stuff with them, you know. And what was really important for me was not about what we'd done as a group, but what I'd done as an individual to change some of these kids' lives.
Yes.
And seeing some of these kids that potentially wouldn't have got a break, or they wouldn't have got the leading role because Susie down the road always gets it because she's a better singer, or do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that for me wasn't always about that. It was always about giving people the chance, and seeing the kids up there and seeing them flourish and seeing them become what I was like as a kid.
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
So that resonated with you.
Yeah.
How you felt as a child,
Yeah.
and you were giving these kids the opportunity
Yeah.
to grow
And
their
I would do the
confidence.
show with the kids.
Yes.
And it was only at the very, very last show that I decided that I wasn't going to do that with them. 2 reasons. One, I wanted to see them.
Yes.
Rather than being in it,
Yes.
I wanted to see
Yes.
the kids,
for
and I
sure.
wanted to see the show.
Yes.
And 2, emotionally, because I knew that was going to be the last one for the kids. They didn't know that.
Yes.
And that was really hard to tell the kids that there was going to be no more. And then to have your parents come up to you and tell you exactly what you've done for the child, and all of the good things that you've done and stuff. And I get upset because I miss them. And
Yes.
I really do miss it. I really do miss it.
So the emotion behind that, Lee, because you were following your passion, you were living your dream, you were helping to excel children, build their confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could see what I was like.
And what were the reasons why you were bringing this to an end at this stage in life, Lee?
I think for me, I needed to go on a different journey. I needed to go on a journey for me, and that's where my show last year came into it.
Right.
But there was one thing that I remember at the show. We were working late on Friday night, and we had this little girl in who I didn't know at the time, but I know now. And she was struggling with attachment, and it was getting late, and she was very young, and the parents were worried about the time and things like that. And you know, when you deal in this type of industry, in this business, you do get late nights, you get early starts.
Yes.
You know, and we can only work with these kids for a certain length of time because they need a break and things like that. So this particular parent potentially wasn't a little bit happy that we were working until 10:30. The child was small, I get that. What I always tried to do was try and get all the small kid stuff out the way first and let them go. But there's times where you just can't.
Yes.
And I remember being a kid, and there's a lot of waiting around.
Yes.
And you know, you get bored and all of this stuff. But it wasn't until the following night that we'd finished, and I'd said I thanked everybody at the very, very end, and it was an amazing show to watch. But to actually physically have to tell them that it was coming to an end, and that was that, and there'd be no more. You know, that was devastation for these kids.
Devastating.
Because the group that they had every week was their little safe haven.
Yes.
They would come, they would see their friends. You know, we would not just talk about musical theatre, I would talk to them about confidence building and all of this.
Yes.
I was taking that away from them. I'd created something and I was taking it away.
Right.
And really, what right did I have to do that?
Yeah.
But I needed to do that for me and my journey.
Yes.
you know, I tried to, you know, we tried to move the theatre school on so the kids would stay together, and unfortunately that didn't work out because I realised it wasn't about the theatre school. That theatre school could have been sold to a million other different people, but the kids wanted me.
Yes, they had grown that relationship with you.
So I grew a business.
Yes.
That was focused. I actually grew me as a business,
Yes.
not the theatre school.
That's right. Of course, yeah.
And how do you sell? How do I sell? I can't sell that one.
That's right.
And I didn't
that's
realise
your
that until the
unique
very, very end.
business. Yes.
And when one of the parents had said to me, they'd come up and said, you know, they told me about that the child was really suffering from attachment and things like that, and you know, sleeping and being away from the parent, and you know, was a really, really, really big struggle. And you know, this little individual used to come with a teddy bear, and they were small, they were little. I just assumed that that's what they did.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You know, and that's fine.
Yes.
Not realising that that was the attachment between the parent and the child. That was the in-between. That was the middle.
Yes.
And for that same parent and that who was worried about the child the night before,
Yes.
who rightly so was a bit upset with me because I was keeping until 10:30.
Yes.
The following day thanked me because that child got into that car to come to the show on the Saturday, and the mum had realised, or the dad had realised, that the bit in the middle of the teddy bear wasn't there, and for them to turn around, that small child turned around and said, I don't need that anymore now.
How did that feel for you when you recognised, you know, you would help
I
that?
didn't really, you know, at the time it was very much like, oh, that's great and everything like that, and it's not till you really reflect on the input and the power that you had, and I feel upset about it because at that point of where they were just evolving as a small child,
Yes.
I removed the theatre school away from them.
Right. Looking back now.
That's difficult.
Yeah.
But I do think, I did think, God, she's able to do this now by herself.
Yeah. That must have felt so rewarding. Lee.
And it does, every time I talk about them,
Yeah.
I don't think they realise the impact that they had on me
Yes.
was far greater.
Those children will probably always remember what you did for them.
Yeah, and they'll always be.
And it'll be on the positive parts of their lifeline.
Yeah, and they'll always be, you know, my theatre school kids.
Yeah.
Some of them, they've all gone on to do other things. You know, some of them are at college now, which is amazing.
Yes.
Some of them are just finishing their GCSEs.
Absolutely.
And all I ever wanted to do from start to finish was to get them kids into a theatre. And I did that. You know, I suffered really, really bad with mental health.
Yes.
I'm quite open and honest about that.
Yes.
You know, to a point where I was in hospital. So
Right.
it did get to, you know, a really, really sort of progressive stage. How do I then become a foster parent?
Do you feel like it affected you trying to become a foster parent? Did
No,
it
I
affect
think
the process?
I think what me and Ross did was we did a lot of research, and we researched a lot of local authorities and a lot of agencies that are out there, and we found an agency that was really, really compassionate, and it was led by an amazing woman, and that wasn't an issue. The issue wasn't about you having mental health. The issue was, and it wasn't really an issue. It was just the understanding of how you are now and how you've coped. Because what an amazing thing that if we could take that time that I had and spin it into a positive way.
Yes.
What amazing thing that I could do was to recognise with other kids with mental health, and you know, we've been there, we've seen these kids,
Yes.
we've dealt with 11 children,
Yes.
not all at the same time.
I was going to say. Nanny McPhee.
Nanny McVeigh, I don't like this Hannigan. You know, we didn't have Annie sitting on the windowsill singing "The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow," put it that way. But we had a happy home, and it was good, and we were able to teach the kids, and the kids were able to come to the theatre school if they wanted to progress their self-confidence and self-esteem, and what an amazing thing that we could offer that package for them kids. But the stigma, you've had mental health, you'll not be able to become a foster parent, or you won't. Well, no, that's wrong. Because yes, you can. Because what an amazing set of life skills you've got.
Absolutely.
As long as you're in the right place now.
Yeah, to have some understanding of mental health and where it's came from and how it can be managed, and the support and everything else that comes with it. If you hadn't suffered that mental health, you possibly wouldn't have had those skills to deal with the children that had trauma.
Possibly not. When we decided that we were going to stop fostering, we'd done it for 4.5, 5 years. We'd fostered 11 kids. We were tired. The theatre school was coming to an end. It was a natural progression for both things.
Yes.
Me and Ross wanted to find our own selves, and so we decided to go away on holiday after we'd decided that the last foster child had left. To go away on holiday. The theatre school had finished in the January. We had such an amazing show with them. Went to Thailand, and I decided that I was going to put my own show out. So laying my soul bare and saying, right, this is me, this is what we're going to do. So we tried some songs out in Thailand and it worked well, some songs didn't work well. Came back, got hold of a good vocal coach, choreographer. I drafted in some help from a friend of mine who worked really, really hard with me, and as much as all my volunteers did at theatre school, to come on my journey with me, to then progress my show as just for me.
Fantastic.
And that took about 8 months to do, so a lot of work went into that. A lot of work.
Preparation and planning. And yeah.
Song choices, and it was all about memories, and you remember when a song comes on the radio and it takes you back to that certain place.
Yes, absolutely.
It was all about that.
Yes.
So the first half of it was all about me and my family and growing up and everything like that. And people understood that and they got it, which was good, so they got the message. But then, the second half would be about the things that I like to do, like singing about the musical theatre stuff, and what a great opportunity to bring the kids back, the theatre school kids back.
Perfect.
To get them back working with me.
Yes. What an opportunity.
It was amazing because we took some of the older kids as well, and they became the backing singers. So, they were working, we did a full concert, and they were plonked and said, right, okay, this is what they're going to do, this is what I want you to do, and how exciting for them, and the show was brilliant, and every morning I would wake up and check the ticket sales and be panicking all the time, and where's the money going to come from to fund this?
Yes.
But it happens. It just happens, and I've had some amazing opportunities in my life.
Yes.
Some of them I've missed, and some of them I've took.
Yes.
Had an amazing opportunity in Thailand where I was able to record one of the songs called The Greatest Showman, and to be in a recording studio where they've had legends like Celine Dion.
Yes.
They had Boy George. So it was great.
Yes.
So the show came. The show was an amazing success. Everybody loved it. I'd been 8 months solid rehearsals, 8 months with the kids again, 8 months with friends that were helping, and then Saturday night come to the show, it went absolute crazy.
Wow.
And then the Sunday came, and everybody had gone.
Right.
And I was on my own. There was no show, there was nothing to work for.
So is that one of those things, Lee, where, where there's a high comes a low?
A massive low. Struggling. I started to really, really struggle with who I was. My identity.
Right.
And it was really funny because at the first point of me getting out on that stage on that Saturday night,
Yes.
that's when my therapy as a person started.
What was the theme of the show, Lee?
Do you know what? It's really funny because we didn't actually have a theme of the show. On the day, things started to fall into place. We weren't too sure the way it was going to look. We just weren't sure of where it was going to go really. We knew that we had this bunch of songs and this is the order we were going to sing them in. I didn't write any script for it. I was going to be quite off the cuff. Some people were a bit worried because Sometimes things come out my mouth. Sometimes the brain and the mouth never ever never engage. So that's always a worry. So people were worried about what was going to come out my mouth. But I was mindful of that.
Yes.
And it was really funny because I wore a pair of high heels in the show and I sung a song, but the high heels weren't meant to do anything apart from be a part of a prop within the song that I was doing. A song from Kinky Boots, and obviously it's all about drag queen. Obviously I couldn't get the boots on quick enough, so we changed that for a pair of red high heels.
Yeah.
But it was funny because we had a set of stairs that came in as part of the set, and in rehearsals they'd sent the wrong steps, so the steps were like had like holes in them.
Right.
So I was meant to go up and down and do some performances along the top, but I thought there's no way in these heels I'm going to get up there.
Yes.
I'd get up, but I wouldn't get down because of the holes.
Yes. Yes.
And I thought that's all we need is me to go arse over tit.
Yeah.
So for some reason we still had all of the flight cases where all the lights came and they were all dotted all over the show. And I thought, oh, why not just leave them there? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It looks cool.
Yes. Yes.
It looks like backstage type thing.
Yeah.
So literally, as I was at the top and we'd finished the rehearsals, I took my heels up and plonked them on the top case.
Right.
And left them there.
Right.
And it wasn't until we came out and then started to do the show with sound check and everything like that, the lighting guy said, what do you think about that? And he put a spotlight on the shoes, and there was a spotlight on the shoes throughout the whole show.
Wow.
And I think the underlying message for the whole show wasn't about actually my memories about when I was a kid and certain songs and everything like that, which I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
It was all about was be who you want to be, because it doesn't matter. As long as you're happy doing what you want to do,
true to yourself.
be true to yourself and do what you want to do. And that's the message that came very late.
Okay.
But that was the message that was put out, and everybody was like, and it wasn't until people started to say to me, I got the message, and I was like,
what message?
What message? Because there was no message.
Yes.
It was just about me and songs.
Yes.
And they're like, no, about like, about you wanted to be who you wanted to be, and doing all the songs at the beginning and then singing all the theatre stuff at the end and the kids, and it was your complete life. And I was like, really?
Wow.
So that message wasn't meant to be there.
Right.
But it
clearly it had. Yeah.
But it was.
Yeah.
It started to get into that isolation mode again.
Okay, so the only way you would ever known when dealing with difficult times was going to isolation.
Isolation mode. As a kid, that's what I used to do.
Yeah.
And I remember doing things always on my own.
Okay.
Isolating.
Right.
I did exactly the same thing again. Isolate, not speaking about things, going to work, doing what I needed to do, coming home, and starting to maybe would go out. Me and Ross were doing a lot more together, which was brilliant. They would go out a lot more, so I would go out and have a glass of wine.
Okay.
So we'd go out maybe 3 or 4 times a week. So you would go out and have a drink with your meal, and you'll come home, and then I would open a bottle of wine, and that's when things start to snowball. Then you start, it was coming up to Christmas time, Christmas parties, lots of alcohol involved, and I started to really struggle with the isolation. So at times I would really enjoy it, but really struggling with the isolation, so I would drink.
So you felt very lonely. So would you say you were reaching out for a best friend, which a lot of people I hear saying the coping strategy that they turn to could be drugs, alcohol, smoking, any kind of addiction. Would you say that you turn to alcohol as a little bit of a coping strategy?
Yeah.
When you were feeling isolated and lonely?
Yeah.
Okay.
Completely.
Right.
And even to the point of putting myself in situations where I knew alcohol was going to be accepted.
Right, so trying to do more social where
Yes.
people will be having some alcohol.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So looking forward to those, highlighting those moments where there was going to
So
be
Ross
alcohol.
might say, oh, do you fancy, should we go out this weekend? Yeah, let's go out this weekend. Not excited to go out, and you would be excited then to be socially okay.
More than you would have ever done in the
Drink.
past.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then I would then, on a Friday night, it would be then socially okay because it's a weekend. Everybody drinks on a weekend.
Yes.
You know, it's the law to have a drink on a weekend, isn't it?
Yes.
People work hard through Monday to Friday. People enjoy drink.
So it wasn't going to be questioned because it was the weekend.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yes.
And then, but then one bottle then doesn't really do it. You then have to then try and find the next hit, which is the 2 bottles. Then 2 bottles don't do it. And then you try and find the next hit, which is 3 bottles. And bear in mind this is all in one night.
Okay.
You know, but still functioning, still going to work. You know, I counted one weekend, I think I'd done about 9 bottles of wine in one weekend.
Would it drown out the isolation? Would it lift the mood?
Do you know what it is? It would drown it out, but then I would then start playing songs and things like that because I love music. So I'd start playing songs.
Is that with the lyrics behind the songs?
Yeah.
Very meaningful.
Yeah, very meaningful, and you know, I'd not feel depressed or sad. But I'll be like not really living things, but you know, that was. The music was...
The memories.
The memories, yeah.
The memories of the show and the build-up and... Okay.
Everything.
Yes. Reflection.
So yeah, doing a lot of reflection really, but doing it on my own.
Okay.
And I think that was really, that's not a really good thing for me to do. And it's not to reflect on my own with alcohol. And I don't think it's a great thing for anybody to do.
Okay. So yeah, what I'm picking up is... you started, because you were isolated, you were alone, you were choosing to be alone more with the alcohol by your side.
Yes.
So, using that instead of somebody, another human, using the alcohol as a coping strategy.
How do you tell people that you're not doing alright when everybody thinks that your life's perfect?
Yes, difficult. And this is where the things like social media come into things now, don't they?
Earlier on.
When people are putting on social media only the best stuff, and that's a picture you've portrayed to everybody out there, difficult to tell them, here I am and I'm not coping.
Yeah. How do you tell people that?
Yes.
That's the hard bit.
Yes.
So what do you do?
Yes.
What did I do was I carried on drinking and you know, and bear in mind, you know, I've put myself in some really vulnerable situations, you know, with alcohol.
Right.
Really scary situations. I fell over. I've been in situations where I don't know where I am. I don't know how to get home or things like that. And you know, falling over and hitting my head and smashing it open and all of that.
Yes. So some very dangerous situations for yourself, for your health.
Making myself very vulnerable.
Yes.
And you know, I'm struggling with the mental health, the depression, and.
Did you feel, after consuming 3 bottles of wine in one night, did you feel in a very dark place the next day when you woke up?
Not really. I just knew that I just had to get on. And I think what I was doing was I was going back to that old trick of putting a different hat on or a different costume on or whatever you want to call it to become completely somebody different.
So pretend to be something completely different to how you actually feel internally?
Yes.
To put on a good show, to put on a good front.
Well, you've got to.
Like a mask.
Yeah, you've got to.
Yeah,
and I think everybody does that.
Yes, to a degree, yes.
To a degree,
yes.
I think everybody does that. And some people do it well, some people don't.
Yes.
I think I was at a point where I did it moderately quite well.
Yes.
And then obviously the Christmas time came and, you know, people parties and Christmas and we were drinking and, you know, I went away to Manchester and, you know, went out a few nights and really starting to go, you know, and like I said, I was drinking quite heavily, sociably, then it started to come into the house, and don't get me wrong, I wasn't waking up in the morning wanting to drink, but I would go to work and then come home and buy a bottle of wine on the way home or buy 2 bottles of wine on the way home. Do you know what I mean? And it was becoming functionable.
Yes.
But my mental health was really struggling because I was feeling completely isolated inside and didn't know what to do, and struggling with my identity because, you know, I was this person on the stage and that's who I really wanted to be, and I had that massive gap.
Yes.
And then I had a gap where I filled it with the kids and all of that, and then
All of a sudden,
nothing.
nothing.
What do you do?
Yes.
And I thought, right, okay, we'll have some time to reflect, enjoy the time of just being on your own with Ross, the dogs, and all of this. And then, you know, we decided to sell our home, and some big, massive life changes were happening.
Yes.
But one for me, the biggest one for me, was actually discovering who I was. That was the biggest one.
And how did that journey begin, Lee?
So-
Just actually discovering.
It
who
all
you were.
began on the night of my show. That was it. When I came out and I thought, wow, look at all these people. And I thought, hang on a minute. This is me not being that person or this person or somebody else or who's he. This was me being me.
Wow.
What I want to do and what I love to do. This
What
was me
to
being...
realisation.
Yeah. And I was on the stage, and this is when I realised it. And I think if you scroll back through my Instagram account, there's a picture that I put on my Instagram account the night of the show, which was literally 2 or 3 minutes before I was coming on stage. And I captured the stairs that I walked up. And I thought, shit, there's no going back now.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I remember that pinnacle moment, and I remember how that made me feel. No, that feeling's better than being drunk. But then you've got the aftermath of it. The feeling by yourself, nothing. I didn't have anything to look forward to. Struggled really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad, but didn't tell anybody.
Wow.
And it got to sort of like the Christmas period and like New Year's Eve. And I had a drink, and I must have drank that much I felt physically sick. And I said to Ross on the New Year's Day, oh, that's me done now, a drink. And he was like, oh, yeah. And I said, no, I'm promising you that's it done. I've had enough.
Were you just getting sick and tired of waking up the next morning? Like you said, you had fell down on numerous occasions, there was things happened.
Do you know what really bothered me? Didn't want to be isolated anymore.
Okay. So you were starting to feel the loneliness of the isolation.
And I didn't want that
And it
anymore.
wasn't sitting well.
No. And I used to drink alone. That was hard. But then the identity, no, I struggled. I was looking in the mirror and I was thinking, what am I wearing? What am I doing? You know what? That's not me.
Who am I?
Who am I? And I know. You know, I remember going out for food with some friends and phoning Ross and just saying, look, don't bother, you go, I can come. And I thought, this is really starting to affect me now. I'm starting to now, this is going to control my life. Well then, like I said, I started my own counselling journey in the January. And that was an amazing experience. I'd been to counsellors before, but really, just didn't connect with them, and I was holding things back, and
So just weren't ready, do you think?
probably just not ready.
Not ready.
I think the two things, I wasn't ready and they weren't right.
Yes, okay.
And I think having the realisation of the show, and you know, the fact that I stopped, it was my choice to stop alcohol. Just then start the counselling journey was the right time. It needed to happen in that progression.
Yes.
Don't think I could have continued with the counselling journey whilst drinking.
Yes.
That then becomes an issue in its own.
Yes, if you're not being true to yourself.
If you're not being true to yourself. And you know, I went on my counselling journey, and it was amazing. And it was amazing to have that discovery every week.
So Lee, I think you've been so brave to want to share your life story.
And do you know what it is? Thank you, because that's, you know, it's being honest and being truthful.
Yes.
And if there's any message that I can get out there is, you know, it's about the communication, and it's about doing a bit of your own research as well. Because yes, not drinking doesn't mean that you don't have to become isolated in your own little world. I found that having non-alcoholic substitutes
Wow.
really help.
Wow.
So I did a little bit of research about that, found out about the non-alcoholic lagers, non-alcoholic wines, and all of that has really helped me. And do you know what I've really found? Like when I've gone to supermarkets and you're looking for wine, you go straight to the alcohol section and you look for the wine, or you look for the beer that you would normally drink, you pick it up and go. What's really becoming more apparent out there as well is the non-alcoholic beverages that are out there are vast. There's loads, and you know, I would say your main top branded lagers or your main top branded wines and things like that, there is always the substitutes. I found for me that a specific brand of wine, because they make it like normal wine and then they de-alcoholise it, you've still got that feeling of having something in your hand, the drink.
How does it compare, Lee? How does the taste compare?
Some of them are rank, I'll be completely honest.
Right.
I have found a brand of non-alcoholic gin which is just, it's not the same. Do you know what I mean? It's just not the same. The non-alcoholic lagers, there is some really good brands out there that are really good. The wines are good. And what's really become apparent is the non-alcoholic scene, if there is one, I'm sure that there is becoming so much wider, and there's a lot more people out there now choosing not to drink.
Right.
And that's a choice.
Yes.
People always have a choice.
Yes.
Some people choose to go to alcohol for different reasons. People choose to go to drugs for different reasons. You know, people go to abusive relationships for different reasons. And it's a pattern. And like I said in January, I decided to take and break that pattern for me.
Yes.
But also with the help of my partner, counselling, family, but also finding, you know, having a good research of the non-alcoholic drinks out there, and I'm more than happy to list them within the blog that we put out there, so people know, you know, oh, have to try this, have to try that, because you've always still got that social aspect.
Yes.
And it's been really nice because we've got friends' houses and they've actually gone out their own way.
Yes.
And bought non-alcoholic drinks,
Yeah.
not to help but to support me.
So that's been an excellent substitute for you to still live in a social environment with friends and who have chose to still have a little drink around yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's funny because, you know, I've been in pubs and I've been nightclubbing, and I've still continued the social aspect of my life. It hasn't stopped, or
Yes.
it wasn't that much of a control where, right, okay, now I'm going to sit indoors because I can't go out to a pub
Yeah.
to have a lager, or can't go out to the pub to have a wine, or whatever. You still can, because there's options out there.
And then the impact the following morning, how would that feel as opposed to when you were drinking alcohol?
Well, the clarity is so much better, isn't it? You know, being clear-minded, making decisions on a clear mind is amazing.
Wow.
Being able to function is amazing. Seeing things from a different light. You know, we joked on before about me saying, you know, I wake up in the morning now and I know exactly who I've insulted the night before.
Yeah.
You know, but just to be clear in your own mind and be clear in your own vision, to be clear in your own progression of life,
Yes.
is perfect. And now I know now that I can be so happy in myself,
Yes.
because I'm still continuing to do the things that I really love to do. Yes, I'm not physically performing, but I'm working in the background with different people on different projects.
Yes.
To put out there for next year. Now, you can't just start that and do that. That is a progression, and I wouldn't have been able to do that whilst drinking, because that just, I would have been putting out the wrong message.
Yes. Yes. Whereas now you know loud and clear, you've got clarity on what you want to do and what you want to progress in.
Yeah, and I think with the services that I involved in my life, with the likes of counselling, communicating, and substituting alcohol for non-alcoholic drinks, that's really, really, really helped me. And being real, like here in my home, with my dogs, with my family, you know, things don't go to plan.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but it's real.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, is being true to yourself.
Yes.
And following that dream. And again, that the message is make yourself happy, because if you don't, then how are you then gonna make your life an extended life with partners and family? How are you gonna make that happy if you're not truly happy with you?
Okay, so the message loud and clear: stay true to yourself.
Stay true to yourself, be who you want to be, and that's okay.
Yes.
And if people don't accept that, or if people find that a struggle, that's not you, that's
their
them.
own problems,
That's their own
insecurities.
Yeah, and that maybe they need to go on their own journey.
Yes.
You know, everybody says that they're happy with their own life, they love it the way that they are, that, you know, that they love having the 2.4 family and all of that. And that's great because they're fulfilling their life. My life to me is being clear, doing something that I love, being loved by somebody, having an amazing relationship, and continue now to do what I love to do without anybody questioning, are you this person, are you that person? No, do you know what? I'm just me.